Ms. Henry.
Mr. Hikes,
Present.
Ms. Weiss,
Here.
Ms. Hubbard, Ms. Fowl,
Present.
Ms. Jones,
Here.
Mr. Davis,
Present.
Ms. Cousins.
Yes.
We have a quorum.
Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. Sneaker Ball thank you message. St. Louis Public Schools and the Board of Education would like to thank everyone who participated in the Sneaker Ball, a celebration of student success in reading and writing. More than 2,000 students and families joined for an afternoon full of fun, face painting, dancing, and of course, literacy. We'd like to thank our parents of the O'Fallon Park YMCA for allowing us to use their beautiful facility. A special thank you to the barbers, glam station artists, cooks, face painters, and volunteers. We can't wait to run it back next year, bigger and better. I would also like to recognize our own SLPS, I know I'm a mess this, Demanya Gaston, a graduate of Gateway STEM, first student to complete in the EMT program. She earned her emerging medical technician EMT license before receiving her diploma. The EMT program at Gateway STEM is open to high school students in STL City and County. Dr. Scarlett?
All right, thank you. In the spirit of excellence, I'd like to ask Dr. Borshade. Come on up. I believe we have some students. All right, we have some students who are going to talk about literacy for the Lou.
Hi, my name is Morgan Breeden. I go to Gateway Elementary School. My favorite thing of literacy for the Lou was Pi Day.
Was Pi Day. Her favorite thing for literacy for the Lou was Pi Day.
Hello, my name is Jason Young. My school is Gateway Elementary. Pi Day. My favorite thing for literacy of the Lou is Pi Day.
Do you want to have any words? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. First of all, this was a labor of love, and everyone in student support services, the academic team, everyone, comes, the entire district, in fact, the entire community pulled together to make this happen. And we could not have done it without everyone's love for reading, love for students. So I just want to say thank you for that. Sneaker Ball happened on June 1st, and that was our culminating event. Everyone was challenged to read 1,838 minutes, and we had so many students to do that and have continued to develop a love for reading and have asked what is next and when is the next thing happening. We have families who are still completing the exit survey, telling us how many minutes they've read. And as a result of each and every activity, they now have books in their libraries because each event we were able to pass out books. And now they have books in their home libraries. They're also excited about being able to read and have a love for different genres of reading. So just want to say thank you all for making this happen. And our next event, we are planning, I want to say tentatively for August 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Borshade. Tonight, the spirit of excellence shines brightly on Walbridge custodian George Love. For the past 7 years, Pastor Love has funded a scholarship program that sent an incredible 107 students onto college campuses. These aren't your typical scholarship recipients. Pastor Love focuses on hardworking students who might not have the financial backing or perfect grades to secure other scholarships. Recognizing their potential, Mr. Love decided to turn his own modest means into life-changing opportunities. Each scholarship provides $500, enough for a graduating senior to purchase a new laptop, a vital tool for college success. And we aren't the only ones noticing. KSDK's TV Mike Bush profiled him as one of St. Louis's people making a difference. You can see the report on our SLPS Facebook page. And I was there for the celebration during the volunteer celebration at the end of the year where he gave out the scholarships. And it really was just a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for the young people. So thank you so much, Mr. Love. Camp SLPS updates. Building connections at Compton Drew. At Compton Drew Middle School, 8th grade students got to know each other on a whole new level through a fun, interactive icebreaker activity. Students shared their common interests and dreams, weaving a web of yarn to represent their common ground. It's a great reminder that even though we come from different places, we can always find things we have in common. Open mic at Hodgins. Students at Hodgins are getting hands-on with the National Inventors Hall of Fame Open Mic Project. They're taking apart microphones and learning how these amazing tools work. Who knows, maybe they'll invent the next big thing. Lastly, upcoming calendar dates. June 18th, SLPS Human Resources Career Fair. More details will come for that. Thank you.
Now we'll have approval of minutes.
I move to approve the November 14th, 2023 minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussions? Ms. Henry?
Mr. Hikes,
Yes.
Ms. Weiss,
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard, Ms. Fowle, Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Cousins.
Yes.
Motion passed.
I'll move to approve the December 12th, 2023 minutes, the January 9th, 2024 minutes, February 13th, 2024 minutes, the March 12th, 2024 minutes, and the April 9th, 2024 minutes.
Second.
Ms. Henry?
Mr. Hikes,
Yes.
Ms. Weiss, Ms. Hubbard,
Yes.
Ms. Fowle,
Abstain.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Cousins.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Dr. Scarlett?
Yeah. Next, we'll have staff presentations. So first up, we'll have Interim Chief Barrow to come up and give us a SIS implementation presentation. Welcome, Chief Barrow.
President Cousin, Vice President Davis, honorable members of the board, Dr. Scarlett, listening audience, good evening. My name is Chairman Umar Barrow, and I serve as interim CIO. I'm really honored to be here tonight for this presentation. So, before we delve into the implementation process analysis, I would like to explore the definition of the student information system. The student information system is a software application used by educational institutions to manage student data, including enrollment, registration, attendance, grade, scheduling, and personal information, sometimes financial transaction. So why are we implementing a new SIS system? Well, Tyler Technologies, our current SIS vendor, will cease operation beyond next year, 24-25. What does it mean? It means beyond 24-25, we will no longer be able to ensure SIS services by Tyler. And then what is the solution? The solution would be to bring in a new vendor that can provide a solution which aligns with current needs as well as future needs of the district, and ready to go on live on July 1st, 25. And then we developed an approach. A request for proposal, RFP 007-2023, has been issued on November 16, 23, to select a new vendor for a solution that aligns with current and future districts' needs, ready to go on live on July 1st, 25. You guys hear me all right? Yeah, it's just yeah. And then what is the solution process? Well, we went through several phases and several steps as well. The project team assessed some potential vendors. After reviewing vendors' proposals, the project team selected 3 potential vendors and created the opportunity to engage with product demonstration with each of them. And among vendors, we have PowerScore, Infinite Campus, Focus School Software. And then the project team assessed some solution capabilities analysis based on functional requirement, technical requirement, and project management approach. For the functional requirement, we leveraging services and features like student enrollment and registration, academics record and user management, and of course, security and privacy. For the technical requirement, we're leveraging software architecture, system deployment approach, and integration capabilities offered by the solution. And from a project management perspective, we're looking for system implementation development approach and life cycle that best suit the solution, that suit the best solution. And then, of course, we conducted some cost analysis. Here, as you can notice, we have the implementation cost baseline for the year 1, which include the subscription fees and as well as the implementation fees. What does it mean, implementation fees? It means just bringing the solution or making the solution available to us and support and train our people and put the processes in place. So for PowerSchool, that implementation cost baseline for year 1, which means the implementation phase of the solution itself, is $358, $346.25. And then we have a raise upon renewal, 3% raise upon renewal. They're going to be applied on the cost baseline offered by the vendor, which is in this case $269,900. For Infinite Campus, we have 242, 675 visa ways upon renewal based on enrollment, which is $6 by students. And for school software, 230, 135. Raise upon renewal, 3% ways. They're going to be applied on the cost baseline. In this case, 130, 284. And then we have, in this second table, we have the estimated cost for the second year. And then if you notice, we have subscription year. What does it mean? Well, it says the implementation solution is already in place, and the processes, the support that comes with it is already established. Our people are already trained. So now we just have to pay for the subscription. For Power School, it's 277, 997, and then raise upon renewal, which is included on the subscription year, which is 8,097, which is again 3% raise on the cost baseline here, which is 269,900. And for the Infinite Campus, we have 242, 675. Raise upon enrollment, $6 by student. And for Focus School Software, we have 134, 192.52 cents. And a 3% raise upon renewal, which is here, 3,908.52 cents. So, well, this is our just some financial plan approaches that was offered by the vendor, and each approach gives different perspective. I'm not going to get in the detail of the financial plan approaches. And then in phase 3, the project team established vendor evaluation matrix based on criteria like system availability, system functionality, and experience of the vendor, costs associated with the solution, and support and reliability offered by the vendor. So for the criteria, for the availability criteria, we're leveraging system scalability, feature proofing, that can offer a forward-looking perspective, ensuring that the SIS can adapt to evolving need and requirement over time. For the system functionalities, we're leveraging features and modules, customization options, integration capabilities offered by the solution. And for the experience of the vendor, of course, vendor reputation, years of experience, and client base. For the costs, we're looking for initial setup costs, licensing fees, and financial plan approaches offered by those vendors. For the support and reliability, we're looking for technical support, service level agreement, and disaster recovery plan offered by vendors. And then we establish a criteria weight matrix in which we attribute a certain amount of weight to every criteria we've been able to identify. For the system availability, 20%, system functionality, 25%, experience of the vendor, 20%, the cost associated with the solution, 15%, support and reliability, 20%. And then in phase 4, after gathering all this information, are performing all project management artifacts. The project team, comprising of expert in student information system and information technology architecture, chose a vendor with who was offering a forward-looking perspective. And this solution meets the district current and future needs, ensuring long-term success. Of course, and after that, an item agenda need to be created. So to ensure we remain on schedule, which is crucial in this case, we created an agenda item and seek approval for the implementation process to begin on July 1st, 24. Thank you so much. I would be more than happy to answer questions.
Vice President Davis.
Thank you, Chief Barrow. I just, to be clear, so we approved the final renewal for Tyler SIS, so that's still going to be used for the 24-25 school year by students and parents and teachers and administrators.
Yes, absolutely.
So you're asking to approve the new one, which will be going forward, Focus Solutions, so you can have that and begin onboarding, transferring data, setting up communications, training, and all of that during the year. So 25, 26, it'll be ready to go.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? When you say we're going to be using Tyler SIS, are we going to be using it to the full potential that it can be utilized, or are we going to be using it the way that we've been using it in the past? Okay, so let me help you.
Okay.
Because the challenge that I've seen in the past, that we have not used Tyler SIS as we could have been using it. Like, we don't use it for attendance. We weren't using it, to put all the, information in there for our students. Like, the way that we could have been using it, we had not been using it in that magnitude in the past. This year, are we going to be utilizing Tyler SIS the way we really could? And in doing that, when we do go into the new system, is it going to be easily transferable?
Absolutely, it would be very easy to transfer that. So for the usability of the Tyler system, so just got in here. I don't know how we've been using it in the past, but again, so as a design engineer in telecommunications, so our specialties is just to build system and deploy a system and make sure we explore them as full potential. So I'm just looking forward to work with everybody involved in the SIS department and explore the opportunities and features that we could use. Thank you.
Any other questions? Secretary Jones?
There's a few things that I did not quite understand. What's the difference between the system? I know you named a lot of things, but the difference between the system we have now and the one that we're going to utilize in the future, what makes it the best?
Thank you. That's a great question. So there's no difference. It is an SIS system, which is a student information system. But the one we're using right now, in terms of, let me say it that way, we assess 3 vendors, and all of them showcase advancement beyond our current system. So on that sense, I will say having a new system will be really great, because this new system, they offer us a forward-looking perspective. What does it mean? The way these systems are architected, right? They allow us to be more agile in the future. If you want to add more features, I'm talking about system services in the future. The system we're looking to have today, they will allow us to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Next, we'll have a presentation by Dr. Lucretia Brown, our Chief Academic Officer, on classroom libraries.
Good evening, President Cousins, Vice President Davis, school board members, Dr. Scarlett, our community, and our listening audience. Tonight, I am super excited to present an update on our classroom libraries as well as our school libraries. We know that we begin our presentations with anchoring them in our strategic values. We'll highlight our value of joyful and engaged students connected to this particular initiative. We also know that reading is fundamental for many things, but it is critical and essential to our student progress as we advance toward our student success goals across our school system. First, we'll give you an update on what's happened since board resolutions were approved in January and May for our library projects. We've aligned text to instructional core. This has been some strategic collaboration with our SLPS staff, our vendor partners, and our academic department specifically. We've also included alignment with DESE standards so that our classroom libraries give us a powerful punch, if you will, as we're advancing our literacy across content areas and making sure that we have the resources for our students and our teachers to properly engage. We've procured classroom shelving. We've received inventory control and labeling as a part of the products and services that were procured. Delivery and installation has also begun. What you see here are examples of what that delivery and installation looks like. So on your left or right, depending on how you're looking, you'll see an example of our elementary school library collection, which is first closest to the door. Then you'll see two examples, our elementary classroom library example collection. Each of our elementary classrooms will receive this center display, sans the carpet and the bean bags. That was compliments of our early childhood education department. But these two bookshelves, they'll receive two of those, a little bit taller, complete with the bins, and curated collections to align with our curriculum and our goals for our students in elementary. Our middle school students will receive in every classroom two, you only see one listed, displayed for you there, but two of these displays in every classroom in St. Louis, every middle school classroom in St. Louis City Public Schools. Sorry, tongue-tied there. And on the left or right-hand side of the room, you'll see what will be displayed in every single high school classroom. So I'm super excited about that. That is an absolute bold step and statement made by this governance body. What you're doing in one fell swoop is bringing all of the classroom libraries and the school libraries, particularly the school libraries, up to national standards. So when we talk about reintroducing SLPS as a national player, our school libraries are doing that with the numbers in the collection and the access that our students will have to a strategically curated school library offerings. So that's what's happening now. As we move into July, we will include the requisite professional learning in our summer learning for our school leaders, and then as our teachers return back to school, we'll make sure that they have the proper training as well. Part of our products and services also include a literacy management system that will be strategic in helping us maintain our initial year one key performance indicators. So voluminous reading, you heard Dr. Borshade mention the minutes that were included in Literacy for the Lou. We want to support that and build on that and make sure that our students are continuing to increase their minutes of reading per day, and these classroom libraries and school libraries will support that. There is a lot of evidence that shows the number of minutes that students read, as we've heard as a part of our Literacy for the Loopies, has a correlation to their vocabulary acquisition, reading comprehension, fluency, and all the key elements of foundational reading. So we want to coin this term, voluminous reading. We want to tie it very tightly, not just to our Literacy for the Lou, but when we're asking our students, what are you reading, what are you writing, and make sure that we're driving them toward their classroom and school libraries. Oh, I missed that part. More information on voluminous readers. We also wanted to make some connections to the instructional core, so I won't read this verbatim, but I'll summarize this slide to say that our instructional core includes our focus on building teacher skill and knowledge and helping them to build their capacity to incorporating reading, classroom libraries, and school libraries into their routine instruction for teaching and learning. We want to use these libraries, classroom and school libraries, to promote and address student engagement, cognitive, behavioral, and emotional engagement with our strategic curation of these books. And then we want to make sure that our offerings are relevant and provide the rigor that we want our students to participate in as they're engaging in independent reading and structured reading. Classroom libraries, here's a quick overview of the products and services that I didn't mention as I was introducing the conversation. The physical materials, and again, I won't read all of this for you, but I will double down and hone in on the last bullet, labor, the assembly and delivery of all the classroom libraries for each site. So we've paid for what's known as the white glove service. That removes the burden from teachers, principals, and staff having to unload, inventory, and assemble the books that you see before you here. So our partner will do all of this and set all of the books up. They're already labeled and already in our inventory circulation system, and so that teachers on day one can just begin using this important resource to augment their teaching. We'll move into a really quick update on our school libraries, also tagged as library media centers, and the upgrades that were also approved here. Just a reminder and refresher that this purchase was made out of ESSER $3. How it's allowed us again to meet that national standard is we've procured approximately 300 books that have been purchased and will be displayed in our school libraries throughout all of our schools in the system. So again, keeping in line with national standards, based on that acquisition of those books, we are taking our library collections from 1,000 to 12,000. That is if not a key performance indicator, it's an indicator of success when you implement library projects like this. So when you look at national standards, the sort of metric is once you get to 12,000, then you can be identified as meeting the national standard. So we've also brought before you board resolution to maintain libraries so that while we've met that standard, we'll continue to build on that and adding new library books as a routine procedure, if you will, for our schools. The annual allocation of $3,500 also allows us to sustain, if you will, the industry standards as well. So here's where we are. Quick picture, snapshot. Some of our principals in the audience are experiencing this now. Delivery, distribution, and shelving is underway for our school libraries. And there are just some pictures to give you an idea and a bird's eye view, if you will, of what's underway this summer, so that our libraries, classroom and school libraries, will be fully operational when our students return to school in the fall. Just a little bit on data. We mentioned research, but we wanted to highlight some of these areas that are connected to our literacy across the content area and just really doubling down on building those foundational skills. There is empirical randomized research to show the connection between school and classroom libraries to summative assessments, improvement, as I spoke of earlier, in foundational reading skills, study skills, and what's super exciting for our English language learners, supporting them with second language acquisition in their classrooms and in their schools. We highlighted a few KPIs, again, going back up to that national standard. 100% of our school libraries will meet that national standard by the end of our 24-25 school year. That's something to be very proud of. Our circulation statistics will begin to call that data and capture that, and we know that we'll have an increase in over 50% for the baseline statistics because we currently don't have any statistics in that area. 100% of our teachers will collaborate with the existing school library staff, but we're also going to have to get very creative and innovative because we know that there are staffing challenges when it comes to our school libraries across the system. And then lastly, we wanted to highlight that 100% of our students will meet their individual reading growth goals so that we're making sure we're supporting the goals in our schools' accountability plans when it comes to Title I and making sure that becomes a universal standard in our school system for all of our educators. Just a quick connection again to Literacy for the Lou. We talked about that voluminous reading, but we want to make sure that we highlight that and continue to make that connection. And we're going to do so maybe even now. I'll have to look back, but I heard, and I'll need someone to confirm, that the books that are on display for us this evening, so somebody's going to have to confirm, yes, are going to be donated, and so to our audience members, but what we are going to do is reserve the middle and high school libraries for our students at Grisham so that it will be sort of like a double donation this evening. Our elementary books are here for audience members to take, but our secondary will go directly to our students at Grisham. And that concludes our update on our classroom and school libraries. And I'm happy to field any questions.
For Dr. Brown? Board Member Hubbard.
First, this makes my little bookworm heart so happy. I really almost just sat down in the beanbag instead of coming to sit in my chair. So I'm so excited to see this. My other question is, well, my real question, it's not a comment. Will the middle school and high school classrooms, like those are subject area classrooms, are their books going to be kind of focused on the areas of the rooms that they're in?
So are you asking me if their classroom libraries are curated to the class that they're in or they're taking at that time when they're in?
Yeah, like does a science teacher have science-y books?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So that's part of that curation and alignment with core content areas. So I would say yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
When was the last time, first of all, thanks for putting this together, but when was the last time we actually had a system-wide upgrade of our libraries for our students?
Mm-hmm.
How long has that been?
So 94 days in, but based on my internal questioning and research, there hasn't been any updates. And I would welcome our reading ELA person to maybe come forward, but we did a lot of research and there hasn't been to the scale that we're doing now on the books at all.
And then what is going to happen to the existing books that we have? Are those going to stay in the libraries? Are we phasing any of those out and sending them home with students? Are we just making more room for those things, or?
Yep, we have some folks that can help us with that. Please.
Good evening, Madam President, Vice President, Dr. Scarlett, school board members. May I make one clarification? In secondary schools, the classroom library books will be housed in ELA classrooms, Mrs. Hubbard, but they cut across the spectrum of all genres. They meet industry standards. They are focused on Tier 1 classroom instruction so that you'll see a wide spectrum of books that are available to students in the classroom. And the books that are no longer of value for instruction in the classroom will be given to the students if they're in good condition and up to date.
Secretary Jones.
Oh, sorry, I have one last question. Last question is how much library time are students actually getting? I know it's going to vary by grade, but how much time are they actually getting to spend in their school libraries as well as the books that are in the classrooms?
So that's a question we'll have to get back to you on. We're currently trying to compile that data so that we can have that information as well. But we can definitely follow up with you on that one.
Thank you so much.
Secretary Jones.
I want to thank you, your whole team for the fabulous job that you're doing. It's just so, it makes my heart happy as well. I was at the sneaker ball and watching the young people. They were running into the book giveaway. They were really happy. They were just snatching books out of the boxes, and the parents were happy as well. They were dragging their parents by the arm like, hurry up, come on, let's get in here. You're going to make me miss something really good. So I just really want to thank you all for the updates. I remember going into the library at Northwest a few years ago when it was still functioning and looking at the old books that were in there. And my God, this is such a difference. And I just want to say thank you once again.
Any other questions for Dr. Brown?
I have, oh, sorry.
Vice President Davis.
I just had, I have more of a comment than a question, and what Secretary Jones was saying kind of reminded me. I remember back in 2021 when there was the school closures, and part of the promise was that savings from those school closures were going to fund many things, but one was a district-wide, community-wide literacy initiative. And I was very excited. I wasn't on the board yet, but I was like, wow, that's great. We've never done that. And we never did it. We haven't done it until Dr. Scarlett got here, Dr. Borishade, and your team, and really led us to do something that really was impactful and is impactful. We saw it with the joy and the excitement from the students and the parents and the families, and I'm glad that we're continuing it. But I'm glad that we can make this pretty considerable investment, and I think it's going to have returns.
Dr. Scarlett.
And just one comment. One of the things that I've noticed as I walk through classroom or school buildings is that libraries have been repurposed in some buildings into really small rooms, and so we're currently reclaiming libraries. We were at Madison School, and their library was just this little bitty room, even though this is a really big building. And they actually have special education services offices in their library. This beautiful library. And I'm like, they have to move. And so thank you, team, for moving them. And so I really want to make sure we're reclaiming space in libraries in our beautiful buildings as intended. So I'm pretty excited about it.
I think you have someone else. Board Member Heights.
You can sit. I just, with the around the country, they saying reading levels are down so much. I just want to say I really appreciate that the St. Louis Public Schools are bringing back I remember when I was in school, in high school, I ain't gonna mention what high school, but they had libraries, and I don't know why they took them out. So I just want, as she said, your team, I really appreciate that you are bringing these back so our kids can get those reading levels up. Thank you very much.
Now we'll have instructional vision updates.
Here we are again. Again, good evening to the board, our board president and vice president. I am just before you to introduce our partner, Dr. James Randall, who has been supporting us in a very critical project. So I'm going to bring him to the podium, and then our team will be supporting his presentation as well.
Good evening, President Cousins, Vice President Davis, esteemed board, our Superintendent Scarlett, and this incredible community of St. Louis. I'm so excited to be here with you to share what I feel is yeoman's work in designing an instructional vision that is a multi-year project for us so that it really makes teaching, learning very visible in our schools. If you worked on the instructional vision in any way, if you were part of the design team, if you were part of the academic writing team, please stand up. So, thank you so much for your hard work, and we'll hear from several of our teammates in a little bit. So this work is not something that one person can do alone. It wouldn't go to the depths if I were trying to build this beautiful vision in solo. So it really takes partnerships both with academics and with schools, and I want to give a special thank you to Dr. Borshade and to Dr. Brown and Dr. Baird for really helping to spearhead this and organize this work to get us to where we are. So just the purpose is really just to give you an update on the instructional vision and kind of think about the genesis of where all of this started, where we are now, and where we're going to go based on the work. So a little bit about us. I won't bore you too much, but just wanted to just give you a little bit about the passion that I bring and my team brings to this work. Dedicated educators, teachers. I was a teacher, school leader in many districts, Los Angeles most recently. But really my work is around supporting school boards, districts, and teams to think about how do we make sure that we go from theory into practice with a lot of the work. Done this work in many states and across, I've been to Johannesburg doing very similar work, but I really am passionate about making sure that what we design at the central office really impacts our principals and supports our principals and teachers. And primarily making sure that it gets in the hands of our students. So the deliverables, the board charged us with thinking about how do we build capacity across our school system, thinking about the academics department and how do we liaise with each other, how do we liaise with the operations department, because all of this work can't be done by one department or one group. So how do we think about our individual work and really start to de-silo? Some accountability and coaching structures. A lot of what you'll see is really thinking about going again from just theory into practice, and then some accountability structures that will support all of us. You'll see a multi-year instructional vision, and this is iterative. We want to make sure that it doesn't just is just not a document that sits on the shelf, but it's designed to really support the work that we do every day. And from here, from the vision, we'll go into professional learning, making sure that we go again from theory into practice. So I want to commend the board. I was super excited at the very beginning of this work to think about this blueprint. And I work in a lot of districts, and not every district has any sort of guidance that says, hey, this is where we'll start. We want to lay this as a blueprint, and then we'll move forward from here. We did have some great guidance from Dr. Scarlett's entry, and from there we had some goals that we were able to build upon. The district is in the middle of building a robust strategic plan, and so we wanted to make sure that we're leveraging the work that's happening with that plan, and then you'll see how that connects to this vision connects to the plan. So we wanted to ask ourselves, what are we trying to solve? So we really wanted to think about the structures and systems and supports. What can we leverage? So we wanted to make sure that this was not a deficit approach to our work. So what can we leverage? What do we need to enhance to increase our organizational effectiveness? How do we create coherence in the work that we do? How do we de-silo and align our work to better collaborate around these projects and around the work? How do we build capacity from the school board, I call it the board, to the classroom? How do we continue to build our capacity in order to increase literacy and academic outcomes for our students? And so that was the problem that we were or the challenge that we were trying to solve. So how do we do it? We came up with a team. We decided to enlist a team of educators to help us solve this big challenge. And thinking about the work that Fullen has laid out for us, he talks a lot about coherence. And coherence-making strategies are those that are the route to success. They focus direction, they employ collaboration, capacity building, and they go deep in pedagogy and secure the internal group based on accountability across the whole system. And that's what you'll see as we're trying to lay out again from the boardroom to the classroom, all of these structures that will support our work. So I'll bring Dr. Brown back up.
And so to continue the conversation from Dr. Randall, so what does that mean? What that means for us as educators is the instructional vision will bring us together as a school system rather than a system of schools, so that as students, matriculate into our schools, they are having a very similar, if not identical, learning experience. It helps us get our teachers, our principals, all educators moving forward with one accord and one sort of standard, if you will. As we move forward into this conversation, we're going to explain to you how we got to the work and who were on our teams. We did have that introduction, but there are some key folks that we want to identify on our design team that actually started meeting before I even matriculated or joined SLPS, so we definitely want to call them out. We have parents here with us tonight. We have teachers, principals, network superintendents, our deputy superintendent, academic directors, associate superintendent, and representatives of the St. Louis plan. Again, so that we can all sit in this conversation about what does teaching and learning, our core business, look like across the school system, pre-K through 12. As I was transitioning in and designing my 90-day entry plan, one of the things that was prioritized for me was this work. And so in order to make sure that it was also prioritized for the academic team, we memorialized a writing team. And so this team convened every week, 8 o'clock in the morning, whether we were traveling at conferences or wherever we needed to be. And we really wanted to highlight and just commend these folks for being a part of the writing team and supporting Dr. Randall with a lot of the content on a consistent basis that you see before you in the draft instructional vision. There were a lot of other stakeholder groups that were engaged in a regular cadence as well. So I'm going to give this opportunity back to Dr. Randall, but we really wanted to highlight the lead that the academic division took in supporting on this work.
So I know this is probably a little difficult to read, but I wanted to just see, allow the community to and the board to see the amount of investment that it took to create this vision. So the first, where we always started was with the academic or the instructional cabinet, executive cabinet, so Dr. Scarlett and her team really helping to guide the way and be the key executive sponsors for the work. And then we moved into these core team meetings, primarily with the deputy, some of the chiefs to kind of help us move our work forward. And then we went into design team. And so this is where the power really ignited, is having teachers and principals and parents in the same room as all of the folks who were doing the work at the central office to help us shape the work. And then we moved into writing teams. So as you can see, lots of writing team meetings, network superintendents really engaging that important group of leaders and helping us think through what does this mean for principals and schools. We got to engage with the principals to start getting their thinking on what does good teaching and learning look like, what does leadership look like, what should be high standards for leadership. We got to visit schools in the work because I think it's really important to not just be in a room thinking of these things, but really get out to our schools and see what's happening and think about how can we support our teachers and our students. Weekly academic cabinet meetings. I think it's also important if you look at number 9. I know you're in the middle of a very big strategic planning process, so I wanted to make sure that I was always available to attend some of the parent forums, and also going forward just to make sure that there's alignment, because I think those two pieces are so supportive of each other, but we want to make sure that we're not creating any unintentional silos in the work. And then I think the other piece is the amount of data analysis that went into, so student data, panorama data, looking at perception data, also looking at some of the pieces that are happening with existing projects and existing work that's happened in the past. So you've heard a lot from me. I'd love to hear from a couple of our principals and our teachers who are in the audience. Is it okay, board members, if we bring up a few of our colleagues to just talk about their experience on the design team and the implications for their work? So principals, stand up, principals. I'm so excited about our principals and our teachers. So.
Good evening. I am Damaris White, principal of Gateway Math, Science, and Technology Middle School, and this has been a great task. It was also challenging in a way, simply because it forced us to be vulnerable because everyone was at the table. And so with being vulnerable and also accepting the challenge of this great task, my teaching learning methods coach, she also was on this cabinet with us on this project. It allowed us for Gateway to come back and start planning immediately. And so one of the things that we're doing in the summer, which I didn't tell you all about, is for in July we have teachers that are coming back in so we can start this work to get ahead. So when the students arrive, we are ready to hit the ground rolling in this professional development, and it will be intensive planning. So it has been a great eye-opener for us, and it's moving us from being managers as well as being more instructional leaders. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Tina Hamilton. I'm the principal at Metro Academic and Classical High School. As Dr. White stated, this was honestly the best learning as well, to work together with colleagues, teachers, and parents, as well as our central office team here. I will share with you that, yes, there were some tough moments, and we had to really hone in on what we wanted for our school system, as well as how we're going to take our students to the next level. And so we honed in on certain things such as gradual release and academic conversations. And as you know, gradual release in a classroom, it is the best way to instruct students across the board, from having that modeling, that guided practice, and that independent practice. And interwoven, we have our academic conversations where teachers move to being facilitators in the classroom and students taking ownership of their learning. I will tell you, it was the best. Yes, it was very challenging and taxing, but it was a lot, and we're here and we're ready to go. Okay, thank you.
Can we hear from our teachers?
Good evening, everyone. I appreciate being here. I thank you for allowing me to speak, Dr. Randall, Dr. Brown, Dr. Borshade. I am Leah Grant. I'm a third grade teacher at Gateway Elementary School, and I will tell you that it is often teachers are not invited to the table. And so just to be privileged enough to sit in the room with esteemed principals, with network superintendents, with people that I would normally not get a chance to intermingle with and share ideas with, it was very, very eye-opening and such a privilege. Secondly, I am able to take the information that I learned from this team and this committee and transfer it to the curriculum writing team for this summer. So it allowed me as an elementary curriculum writer to get a head start on what the teachers we will be doing for ELA in our classroom moving forward in the next academic school year. So I'm excited. You guys should be excited too, because it gives everybody a standard of excellence from which to go by. Thank you so much.
Can I ask her a question?
Yes, of course.
How long have you been teaching?
13 years at SLPS and 14 years total.
And how long at Gateway?
13 years.
13 years. So given what you just experienced, what's the difference from where you are now and from where you were before? Do you see a difference?
I need to ask a clarifying question, if that's okay. So if I understand correctly, are you asking me what is the difference in what I noticed in the class? What I don't
both. So with what you've experienced, what you've gone through, what's changed compared to what you was working with before?
I'm what I call a self-described educational leader. And so I don't just take me when I go places, I share with my teams. So anytime I gathered information from the meetings I was able to sit in, I would always bring it back to the school. And so it's not just me growing in my classroom with my 24, 26, 28 students, it is the village. So when I grow, the village grows. And so being a teacher in a room with people who I normally wouldn't get a chance to intermingle with, it allowed our entire building to grow because I share what I know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'd like to just talk a little bit about the instructional vision. So if you could please just join me and bear with me here. I just want to illuminate a few pieces. So there are some elements of the vision that guided our work. So we had some foundational pieces. Obviously, it was around instruction, but the piece that was also hugely important for us is we can't do any of this work without leadership. So we want to make sure that we're supporting our leaders, and so this plan highlights the work and support that we will provide to our leaders. And as you read the instructional vision, we're all leaders in the system. Teacher leaders, students have leadership opportunities, principals. So we're using leadership maybe in a different way than a lot of folks have used it in the past. We also want to think about capacity building. So if we're asking our teammates to do some heavy lifting and some hard work, we want to make sure that there's a capacity building model to support them, and a lot of that is through professional learning. And so I won't walk you through all of these, and I will invite a couple of our colleagues up to talk about the different pieces. But the foundational pieces, again, really thinking about the board's vision and mission, and those core values, and then the strategic values that have been set forth. Thinking about the student success goals, we had all of that as a foundation to build upon the portrait of a graduate, and then the overarching goal and theory of action. And so you'll kind of, as you're reading through the plan, you'll be able to see some of those pieces. I'll quickly bring up Dr. Brown and Dr. Baer just to kind of talk us through a couple of these other elements.
So what we really wanted to highlight at the Chief Academic Officer and as a North Star, if you will, for the academic directors is this whole concept within the instructional vision of our instructional framework. So as we're working with our coaches, we're working with Dr. Baer designing, and I don't want to steal your thunder, professional learning system, understanding that there are key elements of the instructional framework that we all must abide by and incorporate into our practice. Instructional literacy, what does that mean for educators, adult learners, while we're building literacy at the student level? What are we building by way of instructional literacy for our coaches, for our folks who are facilitating professional learning? And then along with that, the accountability structure and support structures. So with accountability comes support, but we know that we have to include that primarily for our academic coaches and all of our other key levers for change within the academic division. And so I'm going to just hand it over to Dr. Baird because he needs to say this as we sort of rebrand, if you will, the professional development, professional learning for our system.
Good evening, everyone. So I have the privilege of speaking to one of the core elements of professional learning that is embedded in our instructional vision. And what's exciting about professional learning is it encompasses nearly 1/3 of the pages that you have before you tonight. And as we began to envision what professional learning is going to look like for our entire system, we really got to really put some stakes in the ground and say this is how we envision every person in our system experiencing professional learning, and this is how we want professional learning to translate to student outcomes. So we were very purposeful in making sure that when designing, that when going to provide professional learning, we're intentional around the design, the delivery, the evaluation, and the follow-up afterwards around professional learning. And so, and in the final few pages of our instructional vision, you'll see kind of our best thinking thus far around our professional learning plan going into 24-25, and then beginning to consider what professional learning might look like past that. You'll see a 3-year plan, and we're really always going to be data conscious and collecting data as we implement professional learning to inform those plans, but we're super excited about having this foundation before even going into the school year next year.
So the final few pieces of our presentation is really thinking about the undergirding framework. So this model is really around distributed leadership, and that's how we really have impact on what's happening in our schools. And so I want to again thank our board for your standard of excellence by, first of all, distributing and really being a part of the collective learning by engaging in learning through the Harvard framework and also through the governance core. you're modeling for us what professional learning looks like, so thank you. Central office team, a lot of the work that they're doing and really building their capacity will help support our principals, our school teams, our teachers, and our students. And so you'll hear us talk a lot about, over the next several years, you'll hear your team talk about distributed leadership models, really thinking about this two-way communication that happens from the classroom all the way back up to the school board and from the school board down to our classrooms. And so we want to thank you. Just a reminder of our strategic values. These are just some of the components that have been instrumental. One piece I would like to do is just have a couple of our parents just talk with us about going from the portrait of a graduate down to the professional learning piece. So can we hear from a couple of our parents? A few of our parents have joined us on the work with Battelle and the Portrait of a Graduate, and have also participated on the instructional visioning writing team. And so I'd love to hear from them. Let's give them a hand, because they're busy people, so thank you.
Sorry, let me take off my glasses so I can see my own notes. Excuse me. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, members of the board and members of this audience. My name is Reggae Singleton Onwishe. I am a parent. My husband and I are parents of 5 children. 3 of them are SLPS graduates, one of them graduating from Central VPA just a few weeks ago. Thank you. I have been participating for the last, for the last year on the Battelle for Kids project with this committee, and participating as much as I can on the Instructional Vision Committee. And I just want to talk today about the ways that I see the actions that this committee is taking, that the Battelle Committee, the actions that they're taking, how they play out within the school as I've seen it. So the first is I want to just say the biggest thing was that comes out of the Battelle for Kids is a commitment to deeper learning, and seeing that play out in SLPS has been an amazing experience. One of the key tenets that happens at BFK is a collaboration with other districts for insight and ideas on how to address problems that we are seeing, or not even problems, address conditions that we are seeing here in SLPS. So it's like using a brain trust, getting ideas from places beyond us, getting inspiration for solving our own concerns. Excuse me. So the ways that I've seen this work playing out within the district is that I have seen a desire across the board to make an excellent experience for every student. And I've often talked about a tale of 2 gateways. I have 2 sons who went to Gateway, and you can have or Gateway STEM High School. And you could have an amazing experience at Gateway STEM, which my sons had, or you could have a less than stellar experience, and that's just tragic. I think that every student deserves an amazing experience, and I believe that this team is committed to creating an amazing experience for each student. Another way that I've seen it play out is genuinely listening. I attended a listening session. I sat at the table with Dr. Borshade, and instead of her telling me about the amazing things that she's doing, she listened to my concerns. I sat at the table with Dr. Letitia Smith, and so just to have this space where people are listening to parents, listening to as many parents as who would show up in order to get an idea of what parent concerns are, was very meaningful. Being able to work on the committee with the Portrait of a Graduate has created visual expectations for our students, but also motivation and encouragement. They can see themselves in that. And after working with that committee, I asked my daughter, have you seen this document anywhere? And finally, she has seen it. So kudos to us all. I participated on the revised MOU committee, and that was an experience. But I want to say that the commitment that I saw in that room of people no longer allowing vendors to just suck the life out of SLPS. You have to have measurable data, measurable results, and that's a commitment that I commend all of us for making. The 3rd grade reader program, you guys have already heard about that, but that was probably the most exciting thing I've heard all year. And the work that allow teachers to be excited in the classroom, because honestly, teacher excitement is what translates to student excitement. And so for those students to be running to those books, running to books, not running to video games, running to books, is just something that is, you can't put a real value on. That's amazing. One that hasn't been mentioned today, and it started, I remember having the conversation at a Battelle for Kids meeting, is this common planning time for same grade, same subject teachers. And that's something that I complained about in the past. You have a child at one school who's taking an ELA class and having an amazing experience, and a child at another school taking an ELA class, a similar class, not having an amazing experience. And so that these teachers can work together to collaborate on, this is what this instruction should look like, this is what it should feel like, this is how you address these concerns, really just creates that standard within SLPS for everyone to have an exceptional experience in attending any of our schools. Just a few more, sorry. But one of the biggest things that I saw recently towards the end of the year was just imbuing students with a thirst for learning and a yearning for the rewards of that success. I saw that play out with the broadened graduation awards. My daughter, who, she had a 4.0 for all 4 years of high school, but she felt amazing rocking a gold stole. And when all of our friends watched that graduation, including the ones that were in Johannesburg, South Africa, and they zoomed in and they were like, oh, 4.0 honors club, she just was like, And so, she had a pride that even though she had had those grades all 4 years and she had earned them, her pride about it increased considerably. We already talked about the sneaker ball, no need to go there. There was an attendance skating party. And my daughter got invited because she has the 90% requirement, or 90-something% requirement for attendance. But she was in her choir class. And at that choir class, the sophomores, because she's a senior, the sophomores and the freshmen who were in that choir were like, I'm going to go to school because I want to go to a skating party. And, whether they do or not is up to them. But it was just amazing that they were inspired to be patted on the back, inspired to receive the awards of job well done. And then I think the last thing that I want to talk about is just the standardized graduation experience. We went to the Central VPA graduation, and I got to see Dr. Scarlett shake every single student's hand. And I believe she shook every single senior's hand this year. And so that wasn't the photo op. The photo op was the student and the principal. But that she was there, that she brought members of her team to every graduation, made it something special for us as parents in the audience, as members of the audience, and also for the students walking across the stage. Stole all your thunder, sorry, Patrice.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Patrice Hill. St. Louis Public Schools, from start to finish. Started at Farragut, Williams Elementary, Beaumont High School, class of 1991, and we had an awesome library. My daughter, just like Rege's daughter, also graduated from Central VPA. Also, National Honor Society, ACT. She was one of the kids that had one of the higher scores on the ACT, so she had the ribbons for that. And she's just an awesome kid. We literally just did our trip down to Southeast Missouri State, where she got all of her information for classes that will start in August. To piggyback off of what Rege said, collaboration, cohesiveness. That's basically what we're all asking for, to be able to sit down with the administrators and the teachers as parents and listen into what their issues were and what our issues were, and to just be honest, put it all out there, and work on how we are going to implement these things, that was a big one. That was a big one. There, you know, you have to sometimes kind of put your feelings to the side and realize that what we're trying to do is beneficial for all. So that was a big one for me. I appreciated also listening to the other schools from all across the country. That's a really big thing to see that we're not the only ones that are trying hard to make sure that our kids are safe, are learning, and are in an environment that gets them ready for the world. And so for that, I definitely appreciate Portrait of a Graduate and the St. Louis Public Schools. So thank you.
Thank you both. All right, so I'll just kind of bring us home here. So I wanted to just make sure that the board did have an opportunity to take a look at the first, I call it the first look at the instructional vision, and just please take a look at the theory of action, the overarching goal about the work that we're trying to do. And I think our team has summed up what we're trying to accomplish. It's just that cross-district collaboration, really breaking down those silos, thinking about our principals and our assistant principals and supporting their instructional leadership capacity, bringing in more teams, more teaming opportunities, teacher leader opportunities through instructional leadership teams, where we're really empowering teachers to sit at the table with their principals and kind of think about what are the rocks that we're trying to move for our schools and then as a district. And then supporting those PLCs, the collaborative planning time that our parents talked about. Really thinking about teacher quality, helping our teachers do the hard work of high quality teaching that's standards based. And the sum of all of this is really just making sure that our students have what they need to own their learning, experience academic success, and they leave us college and career ready. So next steps, the plan again is not done because we have another level of engagement with our network superintendents and with our principals. We want to do a lot of, and staff really thinking about how do we socialize this work so that there are no surprises. Everyone has had a chance to take a look at it. Thinking about our different teams to really think about what does it mean to be a portrait of a leader? What does this vision mean for our work? And then we will finalize all of the professional learning and documents and the vision, and we'll probably circle back. I would love to have the team circle back and just give updates to our board. So thank you so much. Oh, student voice. Critically important. We're thinking about ways to leverage our students in an ongoing dialogue around what they're experiencing with this work, because we're working hard, but we want to make sure that they're experiencing the success and they're telling us the truth, right? What are they really experiencing? All right. Any questions? I'm open to any questions from our esteemed board.
Any questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Excellent work.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Randall. You all have no idea what he was trying to herd and put together. And so hopefully you can see the complexity of this and how it move into the governing tools. We have those 6 governance tools, and one of them is a professional development plan, and this is moving us right into that. So, all right. So next I am going to do a presentation for the board to talk about the future of SLPS in a system rebuild. You want to go stand up? Okay. All right. This is me? All right, okay. So once again, the work that we do will always be guided by our board's goals because they provide clear direction for the work we do as a system.
I want to take an opportunity, because I haven't in a while, hopefully you can see my core values by the work that I do and what I'm leading, but to be able to share openly about my own core values around authenticity, collaboration, equity. These were the core values that I shared with the board even prior to them hiring me, and have tried to demonstrate throughout that. And that I have some core beliefs that a high quality public education is a basic right and our most promising pathway to social justice, that all students deserve to learn in inclusive environments where they feel seen, heard, safe, and welcome. I think we're remiss as not to have a comment around Happy Pride Month to our families and students. Families are our students' first teachers and are valuable partners in their students' education, and we have to have high expectations and high accountability, but it must be matched with support. And that, lastly, relationships are at the heart of what we do in capacity building and continuous improvement. You know, I like the Black Space Manifesto. You see it everywhere here. But there's a few principles that really resonated with me from this manifesto. One of them is be humble learners who practice deep listening, and that resonates with me around authenticity. Plan with, design with, collaboration, just such a strong model, a collaboration around the work with our instructional vision. And then equity, how do we explicitly center the lived experience and seek people at the margins in order to leverage the expertise of our students and families and community. So you know our strategic values. So I want to talk a little bit about a 4-year action plan, and talk in terms of a retrospective, since I'm ending year 1 as superintendent of St. Louis Public Schools and moving into the 2nd year. So this first year, I really took time to really assess the system, and to see the system that's producing the current results, and to think about how do we make shifts in this system. So you may remember a little time down memory lane of my entry plan, where I talked about engage, explore, and empower, and how do we look outward and look inward, sharing our personal core values, connecting with community values, exploring through diagnosing problems, developing shared vision, communicating themes, and inspiring hope and speaking truth. And then lastly, empowering, that plan to act, about taking action and galvanizing change. I had some goals in my entry plan. One was to build relationships and trust, not only with the board, but with the broader community and the team that I'm working with. To understand the strengths and challenges of the organization through engaging stakeholders, especially those whose voices and stories and presence have not historically shaped district outcomes. To learn about the values, hopes, and priorities and interests that are important to St. Louis Public Schools' broader community, and how they can support new pathways, increased opportunities, and barrier-free access for our students. To engage stakeholders to gather feedback about the citywide plan for education. I was able to be at one of the sessions for the citywide plan for education, and made a promise that I would keep that as a centering on both looking at the district, finding out more information about our district, but also setting a course for our pathway forward. And then also, how do we build relational trust by doing what we say we're going to do? Dr. Bourget often says, promise made, promise kept, and how do we keep that moving forward? So I had some deliverables from my entry plan, and one of them was, how do I ensure that I am communicating a positive narrative about our district, and working and poising our system to do that. And that SLPS branding that you can get anywhere from here, the work that we're doing every single day in our district, and how do we make those dreams come true really for our students. Stakeholder engagement, and then strategic planning. Those are those 3 things that I held together that made me wonder and think about what is a successful year for us. So just to talk about coherence again, you know, working together is essential in this, and so it takes us as the board, myself as the superintendent, I always call us the 7+1, our cabinet, and also our school and community to really work together and to conspire and create a conspiracy of care for our students to be successful. And then again, my alignment model here, 4 years plus 4 goals equals students' achievement. That change doesn't happen overnight. Change is messy. And but how do we move from a system of discoordinated, I say the blob, you know, that first arrow, into where at least we're touching and crossing over each other, and then we start to move in some uniformity. And it really takes time to do that work. So one thing in that entry plan was really taking time to listen and learn from the St. Louis Public Schools community. We work with some community partners around this work, and this was just a brief summary of the listen and learn in my first 100 days. So there were some uplifted themes, and these are not particularly novel. They perfectly match with the citywide plan for education around student voice. How do we enhance student engagement and academic excellence for promoting student voice, choice, and leadership in schools and across the system? Family engagement. Continue to strengthen those routines for family and community engagement and communicate in ways that really leverage our families' expertise and promote trust with them. And then lastly, safety. These were the things that we heard. How do you feel safe, connected, that you're in spaces that create a sense of belonging for you and create thriving communities? Now, I know that writing's a little smaller, but this is where we looked at all 3 of those areas and sort of backed it up with evidence from the citywide plan. And so our blueprint for education, those are just some alignment areas around student voice, family engagement, and safety and connection. So in looking at the blueprint, we have synthesized it into 4 different areas. Equity, educational equity and excellence, community and stakeholder engagement, operational efficiency and infrastructure, and a culture of excellence. So what does this mean? Okay, here you go. This is my dad. My dad is amazing, you know, so everybody thinks their dad's amazing. Hopefully you do. But my dad got up on Sunday morning. I was in Seattle having an opportunity to be there with my parents. And he got up in the morning that morning, and he had heard me on transportation calls the entire week, trying to deal with our transportation issue. And so my father says, Keisha, every problem in community has a community solution. Community problems, community solutions. So he starts breaking down to me all the ways that we should be working with community to help us with this transportation issue, that people from community want to help, that it is a source of pride for them. They want not only their children to be successful, but they want other people to be successful as well. So throughout the day, every time I engaged with my father, he said community problems, community solutions. He wrote it on this piece of paper for me. He wrote it on the back of a paper plate. And I told my mom to take a picture of it and send it to me. And right before I left to get on the airplane to come back here on Sunday night, he said, what is it? I said, community problems, community solutions. He was trying to create a tagline for St. Louis Public Schools, you all, with his Yankee pants on. So educational excellence, equity and excellence. How do we create an environment where every student thrives? So our why in this, we want to ensure that students have equitable access to guaranteed educational experiences that prepare them for future success. That was right from the citywide plan for education. So our why is that we aim to cultivate a nurturing and stimulating learning environment that recognizes and develops the unique talents of each student. Our goal is to provide engaging and equitable educational experiences that prepare students for success in a dynamic world that's always changing. So there are some focus areas that we really want to zoom in on as a way for us to move forward with educational equity and excellence. One of them you've heard a whole lot about, literacy for the Lou.
Another area is around special education. Chief Banks can attest that each year our special education costs are rising and rising, and we're not getting any more compliant. We're not making more progress. We're getting further and further behind within that. There are some real radical shifts that we need to make in special education. So one of that is how do we synergize resources and explore the feasibility of developing our own City of St. Louis special education district that really caters to all students who qualify regardless of enrollment status. Then the other area is around what we call magnetic school pathways. Now, I'm not talking about closing magnet schools. I know that makes people feel like you're moving their cheese, but how do we make it so that we don't create an elitism between different schools? That every single school is magnetic and is sticky for our children and families, that they're able to walk to their neighborhood schools, that we expand and strengthen neighborhood school programs in alignment with magnet schools. I'm looking at visual performing arts, STEM, career connected learning opportunities, and other specialized areas. Right now we have magnet schools, but we don't have feeders for them. So students end up with discoordinated educational experiences in our district, and we can do better with this. So we're calling this magnetic school pathways. In the area of community and stakeholder engagement, how do we build strong partnerships to support student success? A thriving community is integral to the success of our students. By fostering robust partnerships with families, businesses, and local organizations, we create a supportive network that enhances educational outcomes and promotes lifelong learning. So as we foster strong relationships with our stakeholders, there are some focus areas that we've named in here. One of them is community schools. We've been working with Local 420, and community schools have existed before in St. Louis Public Schools. We know that these are great opportunities for us to provide a range of academic and wraparound services to students and their families. There are already ways that we are organizing resources to help support this effort in partnership with our labor partners and our broader community, and this would be a focus area for us as we move forward. Around partnerships and customer service. How do we enhance communication and collaboration with families, community members, and local organizations? In this area about customer service, many school K-12 systems didn't embrace the whole idea about customer service. And we do have a customer base. And it's not just for other organizations in business. The moment you walk into this building, if I'm saying equity and excellence and you don't see excellence and you don't have excellence visually or in your interactions, then we're not doing the work that we say that we want to do. So it starts right here, even in our central office and all through our schools. How do we have a customer service mentality from the first person that you interact with, making you feel important as a community member, a student, a parent, coming into a class, coming into the school, and then you migrate and move into whatever spaces that you need to and feel welcome in those spaces. Community problems, community solutions. So community-centered leadership to solve our cities and districts' most persistent problems. St. Louis Public Schools as a city school district cannot do better than the city of St. Louis. We are inextricably connected. We are the roots of this city. So St. Louis Public Schools can't be safer than this city because our children are moving through community to get to our schools. We have to work together, and this is what my daddy was saying. We need people. We need people to come out to bus stops to see our children out there. As we think about different things within our transportation system, there will be shifts that we'll need to make. We need to hear from community, we need to work with community, and we need them. We need you, we need our community to step up and to work, and they really do want to. And then lastly, around health, wellness, and safety, continuing to promote initiatives that ensure well-being and safety of students and staff. The fourth area is operational efficiency and infrastructure. How do we modernize our facilities to enhance learning? So having state-of-the-art facilities are essential for effective teaching and learning, By investing in modern infrastructure, we ensure that our schools are equipped to provide a 21st century education, fostering innovation and creativity. Many of you saw the article that came out in the Post about a week ago, and maybe you tuned into the school board meeting about the amount of resource over 20 years, $1.8 billion, to maintain the current state of our buildings right now. And some of these things that we're talking about are just basic, minimal things. We're not talking about state of the art in many cases. Our deferred maintenance in this district has gone on so long that it's really hard to catch up. So, you know, this is an older city. There are older buildings. There are things that happen to buildings and structures, and you have to maintain them, and we haven't maintained them in the way that we needed to as stewards of them, and we're suffering some of the consequences of that as well. But we're super grateful for the bond, excuse me, for the bond issue. From our community, seeing the work that we want to do and move forward, and we're trying to be very good stewards of that. So part of that stewardship is having a facilities master plan. Just a few weeks ago, we were able to get a facilities capacity analysis where they've analyzed all of the open buildings and they graded them pretty much across different areas and given ideas about how much it costs to move, you know, to keep those buildings operating efficiently. So within that, we have to develop a comprehensive plan for real estate management. K-12 systems were not designed to be commercial real estate entities, but we find ourselves in that place, and many urban cities like us are in the same bind, including the use of vacant properties for community support systems and also right-sizing schools. We have vacant properties all around the school district, and I found out that I read that St. Louis itself has 11,000 vacant buildings. So add us into that mix. So this is a citywide issue. So again, we can't do better as a district than we'll do as a city. And so being able to use vacant properties for community support systems, for bringing services into communities. Schools were intended to be the centers of communities. You can see the urban design of the city was built around that concept. It is very, very obvious. And so how do we really think about this and begin to think about this district? It was quoted at the end of an article that St. Louis Public Schools, that I said that St. Louis Public Schools is like trying to put a twin-size sheet on a king-size bed. And we are facing some big issues, you know, around that. And so we have to really make some considerations. The next is the student assignment plan. How do we implement geographic zones and magnetic neighborhood school pathways to streamline student assignments and improve transportation efficiency? Our young people are being bused all around the city. It is the makings of a transportation nightmare. It has caused our transportation systems, despite our best intentions, to not operate well in the city. And so we need to get to a higher operational level. That means that our students need to travel less distance. That means they need to have neighborhood opportunities right in their areas that are walkable or that are easily transportable for them and their families, and places that their families can actually be involved in, because that's another thing that we don't really talk about. If I'm working in a different part of the city and I'm trying to get back home and then get to my child's school thing that's across town, it just makes it really hard for me to be involved and to be engaged in ways that I want to be. So that's important for our families as well. And then lastly, predictable operations. How do we establish systems and processes that are consistent, transparent, and efficient in our district operations? So lastly, culture of excellence. How do we empower our educators, but staff overall, to inspire excellence? Someone just said that that the enthusiasm of teachers is like it like lights a fire for everyone else. I'm giving extra words to it, but that's how I took it. That lights a fire for everyone else. It's really about the enthusiasm of educators, and just the work that our team has been doing with helping to support educators to own their profession is very vital in this work that we're doing. So how do we promote a culture of excellence in SLPS that fosters an environment where every student and staff member is empowered to achieve their highest potential, that everyone has an opportunity to develop their talents, that our children have talent development plans, our adults have talent development plans, and that we use our resources to help support that. So our educators, of course, are the backbone of our education system. By investing in their professional development and well-being, we empower them to deliver high-quality instruction and inspire students to achieve that full potential. You think about that continuum of distributed leadership and sort of that continuum or through line all the way from the board to the classroom, and how vital each person is in that continuum. So there are some focus areas. We talked about talent development, providing a robust onboarding for new staff. I know I have a whole lot of new cabinet members, and I told you that you can't just bring a collection of talented people and just say, go play together. You have to work at it all the time, and the onboarding for this system is very important for them to lead together and lead on behalf of our students and in partnership with our community. Professional development for staff with respect for their time, their effort, and limitations. And this was something that I talked to Vice President Davis about. And the whole point about the time, effort, and limitations is that our educators are working so hard every day. And education was intended to be a community and a relational endeavor, not just between a student and a teacher, but also with the broader community as well. And so a child's academic identity is shaped by their families and their educators and themselves as well. So it's very important to have that type of partnership. Keeping on making sure that we have competitive compensation so that we're able to retain, we're able to move from privatized companies that are supplying many of our special education staff vacancies. We've made those, high double-digit raises in order to really make it attractive for our educators to want to be part of St. Louis Public Schools, but to also understand what their salary potential will be over time, just even by having things like salary schedules. And then lastly, the system transformation. We talked a whole lot about Wright Associates, and I've talked a whole lot about system transformation and the idea of a rebuild, that we set high standards, provide robust support, and emphasize continuous improvement. When I say a rebuild, I'm not saying tear down the system, because we don't have anything to replace it, but there are things that need to be replaced in our operating system. And so it takes us to build new things. So you're familiar with the superintendent portfolio of initiatives. You'll notice that the portfolio of initiatives that I shared before don't deviate from this. I'm not adding on more things. I'm adding more clarity to what I already shared with you. And so you know that third grade reading, literacy for the LU, is our flagship goal and our flagship focus and initiative area. Having predictable and efficient operations. So initiatives such as procurement, transportation, our payroll system, ERP improvements, you just learned about the SIS, are all part of a plan to streamline our operations. Continuing talent development, PD, onboarding, leadership capacity building. The development of a 5-year strategic plan that by December 2024, I want to have a plan before that to you, but that is codified and that is voted on and approved by our board with the input of our broader community. And then lastly, strategic communications that focus on improving customer service, stakeholder engagement, branding and marketing, and communication strategies. So some of my slides didn't update, but I will say that I made a bit of an update to my slide. One of them is this. I had this arrow here and was challenged by a colleague in looking at this arrow because it implies that, oh, in year one, we're just going to assess and that it stops there and that it's static, or year two, we're going to design. These are things that happen all the time and they're part of a continuous improvement cycle. So if you see the updated slide, you will see an actual cycle of assess, design, implement, expand, and stabilize across that. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about year two, the design phase and the action plan. So a few things just for you to make some considerations about. Our intent in year two is to expand our Literacy for the LU initiative district-wide based on pilot program results. To begin planning stakeholder engagement for the special school district and special education. Just think about policy and what type of legislation we would need to even have feasibility for something like that. The establishment of magnetic neighborhood school pathways that will happen by the end of the year or midway through the year, really, because families will need to be able to make enrollment choices, and we'll have community input with that. For community and stakeholder engagement, we'll continue. We had our family forums. We have 4 successful forums. Continue to have community forums, surveys, and other focus groups to identify needs and priorities for community schools in particular. Develop a strategic communication plan to improve customer service and stakeholder engagement. Customer service will be a pillar of our strategic plan along with that culture of excellence. And then establishing partnerships with local health organizations to continue to promote student and staff wellness. Also, during this planning and initial implementation time, we'll have operation efficiency and infrastructure. So that completing this facilities master plan, which will also include a demographic study and urban planning and inventory of current properties and identification of potential community support centers, and the new student assignment plan, and also having more projects to support predictable operations that are connected to transportation and also maintenance and construction. And then lastly, culture of excellence. Develop and implement an onboarding program for staff and my cabinet in particular. Continue to conduct compensation reviews to ensure that we're competitive. And then also we want to be able to retain and sustain. That sustainment means health and wellness, targeting both for our adults and students in the organization. So there you go again. A call to action. So change is hard. So there's a motivational speaker. His name is Robin Sharma. Change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end, he says. And so when I think about the change that is ahead of us as a district, it is going to be hard. It has been hard. I've represented change. It's been very hard for people to have a new superintendent come in after having a long-standing superintendent. And I keep saying I didn't come to bring adult trauma into St. Louis Public Schools, but, you know, I'm focused on kids, so I sleep well at night. So as we think about next steps in this sort of call to action, how do we encourage community involvement and have feedback? When community members reach out and say, we'd like to help, we need to be able to meet them with opportunities. An ongoing invitation to collaborate and support our district's efforts toward rebuilding and excellence will be necessary as we move forward. And so I will stop there for any questions.
Is there any questions for Dr. Scarlett, Vice President Davis?
Going back to, well, first of all, does year 2 start July 1st?
Yes.
Okay, that's a couple weeks. Good.
Yeah.
Because I'm excited.
It's starting now. Yeah.
To talk a little, I just wanted you to just briefly explain a little bit about Literacy for the Loop, because we've talked about the books, we've talked about the events, but you mentioned the pilot programs and expanding the pilot programs, and that's really like the heart of it and the key of it. So could you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the heart of the Literacy for the Lou, and I want to credit Dr. Borshade with her vision for this work, has really been about instructional leadership and that instructional leadership partnership between leaders and the educators that are part of their buildings. And so we started with 6 schools, Walbridge, Peabody, Ashland, Columbia, Jefferson,
Merrimack.
Okay, got him. Thank you. And so, thought about how could we have a consistent instructional practice around literacy, really zooming into writing practice. And I know we've done some presentations within that. And so Literacy for the Lou is our internal work around the professional learning, the growth that we're doing inside, auditing our curriculum, making adjustments to those things, and then the actual instructional practices happening, as well as a citywide initiative.
And so that expansion, I believe Dr. Borshade has located about 6 more schools within the network in order to expand that partnership with REACH, with Kathy Feldman from REACH around those literacy practices. So we're excited about that. And one of the things that people get afraid of is you say pilot and they're like, oh, it never moves. And so that's not happening with this, that we are growing, you know, this practice and expanding as well to how do we duplicate and replicate and scale these practices across more schools.
And I just had one more thing. As
Yes.
you were talking, I felt the need to reach back out to our parents that spoke, because I think you described them who've already answered the call to action. And so I just wanted to thank you, one of all, for the commitment,
Yeah, thank
but
you.
two, in the way that you engaged, because I mean it's easy as a parent myself to kind of complain or just kind of like, okay, we'll get through this. I mean, ask Dr. Borshade, I'm probably the #1 complainer in the district, but it's all something more to come and be a part of those solutions. And I mean, you demonstrated, I mean, just as a model parent, I think, and as a model community member of how you can actually roll your sleeves up, get in there, and make a difference. So I just think those two went well together. So I wanted to just acknowledge both of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Board Member Hubbard.
Thank you so much for this. Is there any other word we can use for customer service that is not, no one is buying their education from us? And to think about it as customers really contributes to like the whole free market school choice thing. And like, we need people to be, we need kind and respectful everywhere that interfaces with children or families or each other. That needs to happen. But the implications of using customer service make me anxious. It's the city taxpayers pay for this, which means they're all our customers because public education is a public good. So I don't know what the right word is, and I know like the intent and what we need to have happen is absolutely right. But just to use that word plays into all these other things that are not good for children or public education. So.
Yeah. And
That's
our
my
families are
English
making
major.
choices all the time. I've never seen so much choice than in St. Louis. And so, yeah, so it may be a both and within that. And so I can hear what you're saying. And also, you know, I'm thinking other ways too. So, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Dr. Scarlett, I'm listening to the different layers of what you presented, and I'm hearing you touch on the citywide plan, and I'm hearing you touch on the facility master plan, and I know we're working on the strategic plan. Is it safe to say that you're incorporating all of this, and you're needing to incorporate all of this, as well as I think Linda Quinley did a plan or a study she presented to the board as well. Is it safe to say that you're taking, the need is to present all of this before the board and the community, as well as getting lean-in from the community before we know that we're going to have to receive some recommendations from you to make some decisions as to how we would do the new student assignment plan? Like, all of these things are really going to be gathered or needed to gather, do an assessment before we can move into that direction of looking at what that new student assignment plan will look like, what our magnetic schools could possibly look like. We're going to really have to buckle down and start making some decisions based on recommendations that you're going to bring before us.
Multiple data sources. Linda Quinley's study just around the, I can't remember the slash. I was thinking charter slash. What was it?
Feasibility.
It was efficiency study, but it had another
the
name too.
chartered/system study.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, looking at data across a number of different areas, I talked about the demographic studies where we're working with architects and the demographer to just, and, even our broader city planners just to say where are the trends for enrollment, where are the places, sort of these heat maps that we're creating for the district to find out where those enrollment trends are happening. There's some clustering that's happening in the district as well. So all of those parts come together. Each one of those areas, the student assignment plan, the transportation plan, all of those have to go through the community and come to the board, for approval. We'll make our best recommendations, with your insight and your support on those. But all of those recommendations would need to come through. So we're taking every piece of data and information, the citywide plan for education, the family forum information, the different studies, and bringing all that together in order to really make these decisions. And what you'll notice is that many of these decisions are all connected to each other. You can't discreetly deal with real estate or student assignment planning without having a connection with transportation.
I was going to, and I did want to go back into that, and I think that kind of supports why we would bring, SLDC, the other city departments into this space, because we need to understand where and what it looks like development-wise. This is why and how all of these things kind of correlate with the district, and when it comes to how we are going to have to make those decisions, when it comes to where housing is going to be, what housing looks like, and we really need to get a full understanding of that, because we're not saying one bedroom. I think Vice President Davis and Secretary Jones and I have these type of conversations. We're not saying, okay, if you're building apartment buildings and it's a one bedroom apartment building, it's really not supporting the district, because a one bedroom apartment building is really not going to do anything when it comes to trying to bring families back into the city. Like, we know that's a challenging factor, and that's really what we're trying to look at. So I'm saying all that to say I respect what you've presented, and I know that there are so many other components to what is going to be needed in regards to having to make those decisions. And I want to make sure people understand the community plays a really key role in when we have to make those decisions.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Board Member Weiss.
Thank you so much, Dr. Scarlett, for this presentation. I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit more about the connection between our PROPES funding that we've received, and we've been able to do some amazing projects and things with that. But that connection, the PROPES funding with the facilities master planning, and how we're or what the plan is to, utilize the PROPES funding as we move forward in the most effective way possible based on the facilities master plan.
Yeah, I think in the most extreme case with the facilities capacity analysis, and there are other pieces to a master plan. We don't have a master plan yet, but we have some. But one example would be I'm just going to say Gateway High School. So Gateway STEM High School. Gateway STEM High School has the highest population in the school district, and it needs extensive repairs. Is it more fiscally sound to just keep repairing the building and adding things onto a building that may have, a lower score, or is it better to do a complete rebuild? And so those are the decisions that the board is going to have to make, and so that's the most, I would say, extreme, sort of decision around that. But all of these different areas within that master plan, because we didn't start with a master plan, our district had to just have some level of discretion to name some areas that we knew were hot button areas that people said, like restrooms. And so, this is the summer of the restroom. There's $80 million worth of work that is happening this summer. And so across the different buildings. And so the Proposition S funds can be used to help support, just the general maintenance or the kind of broader maintenance of the buildings, but also The reality is that we need more resource. And so what I'd like to make sure is that our taxpayers see a strong return on investment, so that when we return to ask for more resource for those, larger projects or more projects for us to get to, then they'll feel good about being able to support those efforts. Thank you.
Secretary Jones.
I want to thank you so much, Dr. Scarlett, for your vision and the people that you're bringing together out here. I really appreciate them. I've been around here for over 18 years, and I started out as a parent advocate with 7 kids in St. Louis Public School, and one of the primary high schools was Gateway High School, which does need a lot of help.
Yes.
I've always thought our school buildings should be like a Taj Mahal for our students, because they are truly holy grounds, because that's where we keep our most precious resource in our community and in our world, our children. And it's, to me, right now, I pray before I come here, because I just want to make sure that each word that comes out of my mouth or thought, I'm not anyone that's truly big and holy or whatever, but I just want to do the right thing by our students and by our parents, because I know how it feels. I cried those tears worried about my students or my children getting the right kind of education, coming from North St. Louis, which has been so deeply devastated by poverty. And it's like having a window open in a stale room, and the wind is coming in and the fresh air is finally filling up, and you can finally start breathing. And this is what I'm looking for. I'm not sitting here, my time is just as valuable as anybody making $500,000 an hour. I'm here because of our students and our children in our community. And I appreciate persons like yourself and the people in the audience here, because it means a whole lot to me. Because there are a lot of people that have pimped this district for far too long and stolen money and did things that were unnecessary. But I'm so glad that you guys are here. And I just want to say I appreciate everything that you guys are doing right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Ms. Jones and the board, I'll say that I say it all the time. I've been preparing my entire life to be the superintendent of St. Louis Public Schools. It has taken me every single skill, everything my parents poured into me, and I poured into myself and other people in order to be able to lead in the ways that I know we should lead and move forward. So thank you so much.
Board Member Val.
I appreciate all your thoughtfulness that went into this. It's really kind of grown and developed since we first kind of saw it, and I appreciate seeing all this fleshed out and shared with the community. I know that when we talk about coherence, schools and community do include students. So can you give us some examples of ways that we are centering student voice and sourcing student feedback to make sure that those end users of our service, St. Louis Public Schools, are getting what they need? And we're making those decisions with them instead of for them.
Yeah, I would love to talk about that. The example that comes to mind, it makes me want to bring Chief Alonsi up here, but I'm going to go for it, is our new nutrition providers, our food nutrition providers in that process. Within that, in that RFP process, I know it was an unprecedented level of student involvement. Our superintendent, student youth advisory committee were part of that entire process. Each one of those vendors had to share their plans. They had to do a tasting with them. They had rubrics and scores. And our young people went through that process, and they chose, because they're the ones who have to eat the food every day. And so they complained, when Chief Alonsi, Manal Alonsi back here, my chief of staff, when she first brought the group of students together and they started to brainstorm and talk about the things that they really wanted to change was food. You all, I'm just saying, if kids are throwing away pizza and hamburgers, there's a problem. And our children this is a 100% qualifying for a reduced lunch. Our children are food dependent. It breaks my heart to think that kids aren't having food that is even palatable for them to be able to eat. And so our young people, shared with their votes, around that, and the adults listened to them. and didn't allow other influences to try and push things forward, and tried to keep it as pure as possible in that. And so that is an example of centering student voice. This strategic plan also, as we build that, definitely centering student voice in this work is part of our plan with Insight Education Group that we're talking with, that we move beyond having sort of these family forums with just a bunch of adults to young people. So we'll be doing a road show across some different schools and talking to our younger students, our middle school students, our high school students. Every child can tell you yes or no about what they like or don't like. And so I just believe that that is our mandate and our responsibility for that.
Thank you. I don't want it to be an extra burden on the students, but it is important that we hear them.
They want to be heard. It is not a burden at all.
Involve them.
They want to be heard, yeah.
And I'm super glad you brought up the topic of lunches, because I've been trying to get the board to agree to eat for dinner what our students are served for lunch, and nobody will go with me on that. So I'm glad to see that changing. And my last question, you don't have to answer, but what does your dad do that he came up with such a wonderful tagline?
Oh, that man does a lot of things. He's 81. Mostly he drives my mom crazy and kind of keeps her working all day. But my father is retired, but he's a pastor. And so just from my entire life, my parents organized youth violence rallies, and I just come from a community organizing family, and it's really intertwined with the work they do in ministry. And I just say that this is my ministry. So, yeah, thank you for asking.
That tracks. So tell him thank you for us.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Scarlett? Thank you, Dr. Scarlett.
Thank you.
We're going to move to the consent agenda. Are there any questions for the consent agenda? Any items to be pulled for the consent agenda?
Are we taking all the new items separately?
We can, I would like to pull 06-11-24-42 and 06-11-24-44. Is there any other items that need to be pulled?
Can we pull 06, 11, 24, 15?
Did you say 44 and 42?
I said 44. Any other items? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve 06-11-24-01 to 06-11-24-14.
Second.
Any discussions? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Hikes?
Yes.
Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Fowl?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
06-11-24-15.
Second.
Any discussions?
I just work for the university.
I do. I'm glad you did pull that. I do have a discussion. Whose item is this? Not yet. Make it red.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Each person rule the cost of contract. Okay, help me out, Chief.
So my understanding that this is in the 5th year of its contract, and that Parsons Boone is donating money to make sure that our math and science and middle school, high school teachers, and this is part of our getting males of color into the schools.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussions? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Hikes?
Yes.
Ms. Weiss?
Abstain.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Fowl?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
06-11-24-16 to 06/11/2441.
Second.
Any discussions? Ms. Henry, sorry. Ms. Bree?
Mr. Hikes?
Yes.
Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Bowell?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
06/11/2442.
Second.
Whose is this? I think this is you, Borshade. To amend the previously approved calendar for school year 24-25 to reflect the 168 student days. Good evening, Dr. Borshade. Can you tell me about this, please?
Good evening. Yes, this was changed because initially we thought that we were going to, this based on funding, we thought we needed an extra day, and because that takes effect in the 25-26 school year, then we just put that date back on the calendar.
So this day, I think Vice President Davis is going to chime in.
In the proposed calendar, get that 169th day. The students came back on a Friday.
Yes,
Correct.
that's what I thought.
After the holiday break.
After the holiday, January,
And so,
yes.
Right, and so now that's just going to be a teacher day, and the students come back on Monday.
On that Monday,
right?
correct.
So I just want the public to know that this is the day, instead of the students having to come back on a Friday, they
On
do
January
not.
3rd, right. They
They
will
do
come
not.
back that Monday.
Okay. And this was due to a bill that passed.
In the initial, the Senate Bill 727, which was the education omnibus, has funding dependent on if a school district has 169 days a year, whereas previously you were required to do it by hours. They put it back that date. It was a way to account for giving a reward to school districts that had 5-day school
right.
days.
Okay.
5-day school week. So in the calendar was being approved while the bill was being debated on the floor. So that I think the discussion was it's easier to take one out than add it back in. So thankfully we can take one out. And it was a weird calendar this year because to get those
Election
days.
yeah.
Yeah, you had to have that extra day. So should make everybody very happy.
Thank you. I just wanted to publicly let it be known.
Thank you.
Any other discussions? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Hikes?
Yes.
Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Bowell?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
06/11/2443.
Second.
Any discussions?
I have a question. I know that all of those windows are in need of replacement, but $1.8 million being spent on that school, are we looking at other schools as well for those expenditures across the district in interest of equity and fairness across the district?
So the question around, are we looking at other districts for window replacements?
Yeah, have we done other schools, and are they all getting upgraded windows as well? I'm just, I guess, curious why this one is separate.
So for Central VPA, CSMB, that particular project or that particular board resolution was designed by the Cordigan Clark, the architectural firm, and they would have several phases for the complex as a whole. So that's one of several other phases for the window replacement and for some security vestibules that'll be coming before the board. And to answer the other question, there are other schools that we're replacing windows to this extent. I think Bush, and these will come through our performance management contract with both Train and Amoresco. So there'll be more window projects that'll be happening across the district.
Thank you for the clarification.
Any other discussions? Any other questions for Chief Watson? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Hikes?
Yes.
Ms. Weiss?
Abstain.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Bowell?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
06/11/2444.
Second.
Discussion. That's me. Who is this? Who put this on here? We did. Okay. I want to bring this to the attention. Steve Curls has been, read it. To approve a contract renewal with Steve Curls and Associates to provide legislative representation for the district for the period of July 1st, June 2024 through June 30th, June 2025 at a cost not to exceed $108,000 pending funding availability. I wanted to specifically pull this and speak on this because Steve Curls has worked double time for this district, given the nature of what has been going on in government legislation on the state level for the district. We all know that education is not the happiest term on the state level right now with the type of people that we have in office and the things that they're trying to do in regards to public education. So I wanted to let the people know, especially to pull 06-11-24 and to hear what was just mentioned, you know, you got a whole day back. I didn't recognize and pull 06-11-24 40, and I want to make sure I'm right on this, Vice President Davis, because this comes out of legislation too. But this 24,880 per pupil, that came out of that legislation as well, correctly? No, it didn't. But there were a lot of things that actually we did benefit this year on the state level because of the hard work of Stephen Curl as our lobbyist. So sometimes we need to give it, you know, where it's due. And the work that he's put in, I want to make sure people understand the man has been working overtime for this district. So I wanted to make sure he was being recognized for the work he's done. Any other discussions? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Hikes?
Yes.
Ms. Weiss? Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Bow?
Abstain.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
06-11-24-45.
Second.
Any discussions? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Hikes?
Yes.
Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Bow?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Abstain.
Motion passed.
Now we're going to committee assignments. We have some assignments, some new assignments. For the MSBA director, we're going to go with board member Tracy Heights. For the MSBA delegates, we're going to have Donna Jones, board member Donna Jones, Secretary Donna Jones, and board member Natalie Val. For the TIF commission, we're going to go with board member Tracy Heights. Retirement system, we're going to go with board member Emily Hubbard. LRA commission, we're going to go with board member Natalie Val. Standing committee on budget, equity, and transparency, the chair is going to be board member Donna Jones. Audit will keep Vice President Davis. Board governance chair, Vice President Davis. Real estate will have Donna Jones, Tony Cousins, and board member Tracy Heights. Legislative committee chair is Matt Davis. Prop S committee is the chair is Tracy Heights. Starwood advisory committee is Tracy Heights. And there is a new committee from the board policy 1167, a communication committee, and the chair is Donna Jones. With that being said, we're going to go into board members' report.
President Cousins, can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
I don't see my name listed on any of the committees.
I'm sorry, you'll go on the governance committee.
Thank you.
Board members report. Oh, of course, nobody has reports, I'll start. So I have had the opportunity, I know we've talked about the sneaker ball. And I'm sure he's probably going to chime in on this, but it was interesting to see. We keep talking about Dr. Borshade. Something that I saw that was rather entertaining is Dr. Borshade playing ping pong with the kids. I think the other members will probably speak on some other things that they saw Dr. Scarlett doing. I'm not going to say how she was doing her line dancing, but I'll touch on the ping pong. And I'm saying that because she was extremely engaged. Like, she was seriously playing ping pong with this kid, like determined to beat this kid. But I think the kid got the best of her. But overall, just seeing how the staff was not forced to be engaged, but genuinely engaged with the children and the parents. To see Dr. Briscoe and the parents seeing Dr. Briscoe like, oh my God, that's Dr. Briscoe, and running up and giving her hugs and giving the principal at Columbia School a hug outside of school. Like, that's letting us know that what we're doing was meaningful. Seeing a student start his own business, selling barbecue in front of his grandmother's house, and now becoming a vendor for St. Louis Public School for one of our events, and his whole family working. And it wasn't like a half job. They were literally working. They had an excellent system in place serving their community. It was remarkable. Seeing Dr. Barrett out there getting, hey, did you enjoy yourself? Come on, fill out this survey. Like, this was genuinely everybody, all hands on deck, and they wanted to be there. That's to me what this is supposed to be about. And to see the comments where people were constantly saying, you got to do this again. You know, is this an every year thing that you're going to do? And this was parents from all over, North Side, South Side, Midtown, actually coming and being engaged. I actually had a parent that I was asking the kid, like, what are you reading? And she was like, I'm not reading anything this summer. And her mom was like, wait a minute, what? She was like, I'm not reading anything. And I was like, Mom, did you know we were giving out books? And the mother was like, huh? And I was like, yeah, you didn't go in that room. So the mom literally turned around, took the young lady, I think she was in the 5th grade, and they came back with 2 big bags of books. And she was like, I bet you'll be reading this summer. So they started laughing. So I just wanted to commend the district, you know, sitting on the board and being able to see that firsthand, the work that you all are doing is remarkable. And I was very impressed. So kudos to the sneaker ball. I also had the opportunity to meet with some of the SLPS staff and junior achievement. Dr. Brown, we have known, and I've always known junior achievement to be the old way of junior achievement, but junior achievement has truly evolved into something that I never knew that they, you know, could or have the ability of doing, not just for our elementary school, but for our middle and high school. So I'm excited and hope to see some things to come in the future with some collaboration, especially based on what Dr. Scarlett was presenting on. I'm hoping to see some good partnership between the two entities. The other report I wanted to give is I had the opportunity to go with Dr. Borshade, Dr. Smith, as well as DeAndre Davis to this event called Project Safe Neighborhood with the interim deputy director, U.S. Marshal, and the prosecuting attorney, everybody got these titles, of Eastern St. Louis, I mean something. But they actually used a model. Again, it was what Dr. Scarlett was talking about. They're using St. Louis Public School as a partnership model, as the Safe Space program and things that we have been talking about. How do we move the district forward in better partnerships? And how do we start focusing on safety, which goes back to the citywide plan or safe and wellness for the children? So the ideal is, how do we come up with planning and programming for the fall for our middle and high school students? And one of the programs that's being implemented is the GREAT program. And they're basically going to be working with the students of middle and high schools as mentors. And they're going to be offering various type of programs throughout the fall into the upcoming year. And that's going to be kind of a model program. And it was interesting because as we were there and they were giving a presentation, we found other social service organizations was asking how do they sign up and work as partners to move forward in this program. So I wanted to make sure I commented on those things as what we were working on. And I also had a meeting, or we had a meeting with the MHB representatives, because apparently we continue to cause a lot of, not confusion, but awareness, I want to say. St. Louis Public School Board causes awareness, and there was a resolution that was done in regards to Board Bill 7, and there was a taxing issue that they were trying to present. Are you pulling it up? Because you know I'm trying to find it. So we had a meeting, or we were asked to meet with these two representatives from the Missouri Health Board, and they asked if I would read a statement, and of course we would, because we're always trying to work and be good partners. But as Secretary Jones said, we're not in a business of letting people no longer pimp the district. I love how one of the parents made the statement to say, you know, we're genuine when it comes to MOUs and how and what our partnership looks like. If we're not getting returns on investments, then we just don't see a reason why, you know, we should be working with you. So I want to read this. We did have a meeting yesterday, and it goes, the St. Louis Mental Health Board, or MHB, is an independent government taxing authority administering 2 special property taxes in the city of St. Louis, the Community Mental Health Fund and the Community Children's Service Fund. Mental Health Board does not provide district service, but makes public funding available for direct service delivered by nonprofit organizations or government. In addition to the grant-making responsibilities, MHB initiatives and participants in community planning, collaboration, and in the development and distribution of supplementary financial resources, including federal grants. MHB mission is to improve the quality of life for city residents by investing and participating in a coordinated system of social, behavior, and physical health services aligned with community priorities. On June 10, 2024, MHB Executive Director Cassandra Kaufman and Deputy Director Serena Muhammad met with SLP Board of Education President Antoinette Cousins, they didn't spell my name right, Vice President Matt Davis, and Superintendent Dr. Keisha Scarlett to respond to the non-factual statements made about MHB support of St. Louis Public Schools and the Board of Education's May 14th resolution opposing the city sales tax for early childhood education. The purpose of the meeting was to correct any misinformation and misunderstanding on the part of district leadership regarding MHB's support for SLP after-school programming, utilization and oversight for Prop R early childhood funding, and distribution of St. Louis City Care, ARPA federal pandemic and funding for early childhood providers. At the meeting's conclusion, MHB and SLPS district leaders reaffirmed their commitment to partnership and collaboration on behalf of the children of the city of St. Louis and their families. And that's my report. Vice President Davis.
I'll try to be brief. First of all, a quick legislative update. We're looking to have our next legislative meeting on June 25th, possibly the 25th or 26th. Still trying to wrap everybody's schedules around. That'll be close. That'll be right around the next work session. At that meeting, we want to start to establish our legislative priorities for next year. We're getting a little bit of an early start. I'll give you a preview that talking with Mr. Carroll, we're looking at adding legislative priorities. The number one most important, in his opinion, is to advocate for full funding for SB 727. SB 727, which we already talked about tonight, was the it was the education omnibus. It was the voucher bill, but it had a lot of interesting things in there that would benefit our school district. However, the catch is it is subject to appropriation in future years. So we need to hold everybody to account for the fact that they promised that they would fund this in future years. So that's going to be something that we're going to get to work on, both on our own, along with our community partners, our parent action group, as well as other school districts. The other thing that we're going to add more, move it to a priority, I would recommend, because we'll do it as a committee, is to pursue that special education funding mechanism. That's going to require a bit more research and time, but we'll need to look into that a little more carefully. So that'll be around the 25th or the 26th of this month. Other legislative update, President Cousins mentioned Board Bill 7 in our resolution. That did not pass. They did not vote on it. It did not pass out of committee. It's my understanding that, at least in its very current form, it's not going to pass, as we learned and as we suspected. That bill, that ordinance as written, the proposed ordinance as written, was illegal. And at the time, we did not know that there were efforts in Jefferson City to change the law to make it illegal. So very strange process that you'd introduce a board bill that was illegal in the hopes that you could change the law at the same time. And so I do believe that that our objection to that in our resolution was very well founded and very impactful, and I also know for a fact it was very factual. And in response to that, we did have a great meeting with the mental health board, sort of set some things. They've had leadership changes over the years, so a lot of their issues relating to Prop R were under previous leadership, and I am very glad to hear that they are dedicated to including us once again in the funding cycle for aftercare programs. And of course, Dr. Scarlett was taking it to the next level in ways that they can use. So I know that there's going to be follow-up meetings with Dr. Borshade's team with the mental health board, so how we can re-engage those funding sources, because, you know, I mean, if they're going to be impact children, the kids are in our school district, so we have those shared interests. We shouldn't be working in silos. So that was a great conversation. I look forward to that happening. And in addition, another conversation is President of the Board of Aldermen, Megan Green's office, reached out to us and also wants to engage with us around those funding mechanisms, and I included also our discussion about special education, because I know it's been a passion not only of her, the mayor, and the mayor as well. So I do think that we are leaning towards you know, building a coalition around really looking at that special education funding. So that's legislative update real quick. I just also want to mention that I do want to reach out to the new members of the governance chair or governance committee, so that we can meet hopefully as soon as possible next week. I think that there's a few things that are really important to address. First of all, you know, as we have new committee chairs, I think that the governance committee needs to take a lead on what the expectations of committee chairs are in terms of having regular meetings and also reporting back to those regular meetings to the board. But in addition, doing things and making sure that there's compliance with minutes and things like that. So I think that the governance committee needs to take a lead and step back into that to make sure all the board members are engaged in that who are assigned to committees. I also do want to mention, so we are still working with MSBA also on the policy project, which will be starting to hit us very soon. So we need to meet and discuss a workflow for that. And then finally, you know, we do have an onboarding plan that the board had approved, and that did include starting before an election with a candidate workshop, potential candidate workshop, or any interested individual who wants to learn about that. So Dr. Scarlett has appointed Gloria Nolan to lead that for the district. So she's going to be working with the governance committee with, and as well as she's already reached out to Kansas City Public Schools and their board leadership, who have been doing this thing for a couple of years now. So we're, you know, sometimes I like to steal stuff from Kansas City if they've been doing it for a while. So we're going to steal that, as well as Janet Tilley, who is kind of retired, but not for us. She's going to come back and help as well. So we need to talk about that next week too. So that's it.
Thanks for that not so short report.
Board Member Hubbard.
I also attended the sneaker ball with my daughter, and I brought a whole lot of books home. She had a bag and I had a bag, so thank you very much just for having books. It makes me feel like a rich person to have books in my house. And it was great. Dr. Scarlett did line dance really seriously. I didn't, because I didn't want to break my ankle again. But I wanted to just thank everyone, all the staff that came out on the Saturday. to help make it run smoothly. It was really fun, and I was really thanks to the Y for having it. I love that it was even though it was really far from Carondelet, I thought it was a great location and made it more accessible to a lot of people. So thank you all for that. And like Dr. Scarlett mentioned, I wore as many colors as I could today. I just wanted to reach out or affirm our LGBTQ students and families and staff and say we see you and we love you and we're thankful that you're here, and I hope that you feel safe in our school district. So that's all.
No other reports? I'm sorry, I didn't see. Secretary Jones.
I attended many events over the last few weeks, but the one that was the most important right now to me was attending the graduations. And I did have an opportunity to attend 11 of the 12 graduations, and I was able to take my granddaughter, who's 10, with me. And it was life-changing. I think to her because she said, "Grandma, I think I want to make good grades because they got a lot of money." And I had to think about that because when the hundreds of students' hands that I grabbed and shook and I looked into their eyes, it makes a real big difference when you look someone in their eye and you actually see them. And I listened to Dr. Scarlett and Tony and Matt and my other board members and Hikes and West. And there were tears in their eyes, and some were happy, some their hands were cold, some were super warm and wet. And well, they were happy. They were graduating. But I thought about it. When you're 18, what do you know? You're at the beginning of your life. But the thing that I was most kind of disturbed about a little bit, I was happy for them, but a lot of the students were coming away with monies and scholarships. But there were a lot of students that said, and I could hear them, they were asking, well, what are you going to do? What are your plans? I'm going to trade school. I'm going to, and then some said, I just don't know. And to me, that I just don't know sounded like money. Money is always an issue in the bottom line, because when you're 18, you're always dependent on someone else. When you just graduate, what do you know? What do you know about applying for credit or that kind of thing? So I'm really hoping and asking that this city of St. Louis and the companies and the surrounding area, and Dr. Scarlett suggested this as well, offer 2-year scholarships to a community college, to a trade school, because many of the young people said that they wanted to go. They wanted to be a plumber. They wanted to be an electrician. They named a lot of things. But Dr. Henning is working on a program, and they need to reach out and offer that up. So 2 years. We have almost $1 billion that was given to the city for our underprivileged or people who are really struggling like us, like me, in this city, to get, to do better. And that money has not been spent. And I'm asking that money be given to our students. For those who are graduated, they went to school. Give them a chance. 2 years. Give them that chance. And I looked into their eyes and I was really worried, because the favorite thing St. Louis likes to say to people is be safe. Oh my God, be safe. So be safe. Let's give them some money. Let's provide financial literacy. Let's make sure from now on that they have a financial portfolio when they graduate, so they understand what money is about. And I just want to say I appreciate the parents and the students that allowed me to shake those young people's hands. Thank you so much.
Secretary Jones, I'm glad you said that. That's why I talked about junior achievement. Junior achievement won, the students at Vashon won the scholarship, the stock market program through junior achievement at Vashon. They were teaching them financial literacy, and they were the top in was it the state of Missouri? They placed third. And I think that kind of supports what you're saying, and that was one of the reasons why I talked about junior achievement. But something else I want to piggyback on, Secretary Jones, I was just told that the district, our students receive $60 million in scholarships and still counting. Any other board reports? That being said, public comments, Mr. Ronell.
Good evening, and thank you, Board President Cousins, Vice President Davis, our hardworking board, and to our dynamic superintendent. To our community, during public comment, out of respect for our board members and their mission to conduct district business, we will continue to enforce guidelines for public comment. They are as follows. Citizens interested in commenting will sign in on the iPad between 6 and 6:30 prior to the board meeting. Please do not hand documents directly to board members. Give them to the secretary. Commenters may take an available seat in the room. Public comments will occur at the end of each board meeting. Each commenter will have up to 3 minutes to address the board. Once I stand, that means your 3 minutes is up. Each commenter must remain respectful and refrain from speaking derogatorily about anyone. Do not use names. Also, please state the district school your child attends. There will be 30 minutes allotted for all comments. If you were not called to speak, you might submit your information in writing to return to the next scheduled meeting. Finally, only one individual or group should speak to the same point on one topic. First, we will have William Monroe.
Good evening. My name is Bill Monroe, and I'm a candidate for the 2025 school board elections coming up. I'm going to run for the school board. I spent 4 years on this board when you had no power. I'm making a run again for 2025. There's a desperate need for black men on this board, a desperate need. I'd like to inquire about two critical matters pertaining to the transparency and accountability of the SLPS administration for the upcoming academic year. As an advocate for education excellence and community involvement, it is imperative that we address the following concerns publicly. Organization chart release. When is the scheduled date for the public disclosure of the organization chart of the 2024-2025 school year? Transparency in this regard is critical in fostering trust and clarity within the community. Educational data and fiscal responsibility regarding the recent promotional events surrounding the Literacy in the Lou campaign. There have been questions raised about the accuracy of attendance numbers and the sourcing of such figures. Additionally, there is a pressing need for the timely release of actual reading score data. As a longtime member of the educational community with vested interest in our students and the board, I stress the significance of transparency when discussing educational outcomes and resource allocations. It is disheartening to observe what appears to be a narrative-controlled agenda by the current administration and board, seemingly neglecting the larger mission of providing quality education and support for all students within the district. And it's distressing not to hear the pursuit of trades and skills at this podium and reacting aggressively. The city of St. Louis is in distress, and there's a component that's being missed. Here lies a solution for what's going on in our streets. We got a streets where young black boys are running the streets with guns. We're going to have to make education responsible to our children and teach them what it takes to be men and women, and we're not doing that. Once again, I'm Bill Monroe, and I'm running for the school board. And once again, I'll say again, there's a desperate need for black men who have no fear of what's going on in this. You really mean it?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And finally, Greg Michaud.
Good evening. I want to talk about Fanning School. I live directly across from the entrance and have a major interest in what happens to the school. I know the school board has spoken against the corporate takeover of public schools, yet the school board is doing the exact same thing to the Fanning neighborhood. The school board is handing the community over to a corporate developer to do as he wishes. I don't want to go into the many problems related to this development. I would be happy to speak at length about the damage to the community. First, I ask you not to renew the contract. It's been 2 years now. It was defeated in court once, and the Missouri Housing Development Commission has decided to deny it tax credits once, and is now making a decision on a second round. There are many unanswered questions from the public, even as the city government, too, pushes this corporate solution. St. Louis is being designed and built for corporate interests, not the public welfare. No one in government is representing and speaking for the rights and interests of the citizens. It is a corporate giveaway. Tower Grove South is an area where there is bidding on houses, with prices per square foot similar to Ladue and Frontenac. It is a hot neighborhood, and of course, developers are interested. This developer tried to buy Fanning School before it was reached the open market and locked it up quickly after it was on the market. He has controlled it since. The school district has never ensured an inclusive, open process that will benefit all, not just special interest. I'm asking the school board not to renew the contract with Screaming Eagle Development. Along with this, Fanning School can be open for proposals and to see what choices are offered in finding a solution that works for the community. Following the process Kansas City uses in their neighborhood will help ensure a transparent, inclusive system of public engagement. I've included a number of attachments discussing the Kansas City process. Shannon Jacks is the Kansas City School District planner who found new uses for all Kansas City schools, and I'm sure she'd be happy to speak to the school district and how the Kansas City system works to find uses for their vacant schools. Fanning is a prototype for the school board to take the leadership reins and aggressively pursue solutions and uses for all abandoned schools for the benefit of the surrounding communities. With this prospect of more school closures, it makes this discussion literally worth millions of dollars to the St. Louis Public Schools. And I include some contact information from Shannon Jacks. I haven't communicated with her for a couple of years. I assume she's still there, but certainly the school district could talk to you. And there's also a short article that I include and a longer one from Chicago. In Kansas City, a lesson in transforming closed schools.
Thank you, Mr. Ronell. That concludes public comments. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Bree?
Yes.
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 Yes.